Hello and welcome to Girls with Goals. I'm Niamh Maher, and on today's show, a little bit later on, I'll be joined by sisters Eliza and Evie Ward of Nutshed. But first, I'm thrilled to welcome my guest this week. Holly Carpenter is here with me. Holly, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
First time?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's lovely in here.
Oh, thank you.
Very cozy.
We're going to start the same way we start every show. So it's our game, and it's for anybody who listens to the show or who watches now who doesn't know who you are. So you have to describe yourself in 6 words or less.
Okay, I think that's very difficult to do.
I know, I love it.
It's so awkward. You're like, oh. But I would say probably creative, thoughtful, impatient, sensitive. You can't really say you're funny. You can't be like, I'm gas, but I'll say funny.
Okay,
My friends
good.
would say I'm funny, and then honest.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
You could say you're funny, I think.
But then there's pressure now.
Do you think you're funny? Or?
Well, I laugh at my own jokes. Okay. So, like, then I think I'm gas.
I think if you're making yourself laugh, then that's pretty much half the battle, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the word you said say them again? There was one that I picked up on.
Creative, thoughtful, impatient.
Impatient.
Yeah.
Why are you impatient?
I think it's crippling how impatient I am.
Really?
Yeah, it's something I'm trying to work on as I get older, but like walking behind slow walkers, being stuck at a red light for too long, myself like thinking that something isn't progressing enough, like whether it's with the gym or with business or something, I'm like, really? But I just have to like breathe.
So you get impatient like if you're out in public and like if you're in a queue or something and someone doesn't move, I get pretty like that.
Yeah,
as well.
if you're in the queue in Zara or something like, or you know, red lights kill me as well. I thought I was going to be late this morning, but yeah. And then you have to just breathe and go, I'm not in control of this situation. It's fine. But it is tough.
The slow walkers thing, like,
no,
it's ridiculous.
I know, and the more tourists,
you're just like trying to go like this way and
yeah,
trying to get this way to get away.
Yeah, because you can't just be like, excuse me, can I just overtake you? Because Irish people are too awkward to do that.
I know, yeah, they're like Sunday drivers, but on the footpaths.
Yes, I know.
It's incredibly infuriating. So I guess I want to talk to you about everything. So I mean, you've been in the public eye for quite a while now, so everybody kind of knows you and knows how you started off. So I suppose I kind of want to go back a little bit further, and like we all kind of got to know you when you became Miss Ireland. That was like the real big thing for us. But what about when you were younger? Like, what did you want to be when you were a grown-up, essentially?
Yeah, I think, well, like at a very young age, it would have been like, I want to be a pop star or an actress or whatever.
Really?
I was always really like, always kind of doing little shows and making outfits and performing and stuff like that. And then as soon as I got into primary school properly, I realised that art was my complete outlet. I just love painting, designing, everything like that. So the minute I went to secondary school, I found out about the National College of Art and Design on Thomas Street, and I was just like, I want to go there, I want to be a designer. It was between jewellery, lingerie or interiors. I was never going to try and get into like fashion completely because I just felt like it was so huge. I thought it was like, you know, those were my avenues. But it was, then I started my portfolio in 5th and 6th year. I was doing portfolio classes after school study, and that was just my goal, to get into that college, and that was like I had tunnel vision with that. So then for me, the CAO and stuff like that wasn't too important because it was all based on your portfolio, and then you obviously had to pass maths and Irish and stuff like that, but you find out whether you're accepted or not. So I think the year that I applied, they got between 1,200 and they got over 1,000 applicants, and there's 110 places. So I found out that I got in before I did my Leaving Cert. So I was like, grand, I don't need to study. My mum was like, you do kind of still need to study. So I was like, oh yeah, sure. So yeah, I got into NCAD, and then for me, it was just about design. So that was in 2010.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I never really knew that. So you had a very clear like path for your career, and then were you scouted, or what happened with the modelling? How did that kind of come about?
Yeah, it was so strange because, I mean, I've always loved, like, I remember I was 15 and I entered a model search competition and I got into the final of that. But that was more, it's always just been a source of fun and like, I'll try this, I'll try that. And that's kind of how anything I've done has come about, of just being curious and trying to dip my toe in the water. But when I was in college, I remember I had a breakup, and I was just like, you know, when you're like 18, you think it's a huge deal to have a breakup. And my best friend at the time was like, look, there's a competition, Miss University, and if you win, you get a pair of designer jeans. And obviously I was broke, like in college, spending all my money on like paint and all the bits you need. So I was like, grand, yeah, I'll do that. I love a pair of jeans. So I ended up, love a new pair of jeans. So I ended up winning Miss University, and then they were like, great, now you're in the final of Miss Ireland. And I hadn't really thought it through, and I was like, okay. And then, so I got a model agency, started doing a few bits and bobs. A lot of it at the beginning wasn't paid. It was just test shoots and stuff like that. But it was really exciting, and it was kind of giving me something, you know, outside of college that was just like still creative, but I was getting to meet incredible people, like getting to meet photographers, designers, all these people that friends in my course would have loved to get to meet, you know. So I was like, this is amazing. And then obviously the Miss Ireland final came around, and then the papers found out that Terry Keane was my grandmother.
Okay.
And Terry was obviously a big gossip columnist back in the day and had an affair with Charlie Haughey and everything like that. So there was huge interest in me then. They were like, you know, Terry Keane's granddaughter is in Miss Ireland.
And like when that kind of happened, because I remember that happening, were you a bit like, oh crap, or were you like, did you ever expect that they might like connect those two and kind of create a story around it?
Well, I kind of presume, it never really entered my head, and then, which was probably naive of me, but I remember I came home to my mum one day and I was like, Mum, one of the photographers took my picture and said, oh, you're Terry's granddaughter, aren't you? And my mum was like, okay, well, just get ready for tomorrow's papers. And I was like, what? But I do remember when I was younger seeing her in the paper and like being with her. And I remember when she went on the Late Late and there was all that drama and everything, and we had to all go to Kerry and stuff like this. So I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But it kind of brought a little bit of tension between me and the girls and the rest of the pageant, because they were like, oh, she's getting so much press, like she's probably just going to win now because Terry's her granddaughter. And I was just like, oh, this is really not ideal. But at the same time, if people are going to talk about you and take your picture and everything like that, it's not really within your control. So I just went with it, and like I'm proud to be your granddaughter, so it wasn't like this big negative thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that was that. And then the minute I won Miss Ireland, everything just changed, my whole life.
And then with Miss Ireland, like it is, would you call it, I mean, it's a pageant. Yeah. So would you call it a beauty pageant? Or?
I guess that's what it is, yeah.
It's kind of what it is, right?
I know, it's so funny. It's like a beauty pageant. It sounds so kind of cringy.
I feel like, well, because I think there's this Americanized version of what beauty pageants are. Yeah. And then, like, here we have them as well, because obviously, you know, then there's Miss Universe, and it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. But going from like maybe doing bits in college and doing the odd kind of test shoot to essentially being a beauty queen, like what was that like? Were you a little bit wary of maybe having that crown, like figuratively and literally as well?
I think I was so excited about it and like so proud to have won something, because aside from getting into college, I wasn't big into sports or anything like that. So my brother would always be getting like trophies and medals at football and all this kind of stuff. So I'd never really won anything. So I was delighted, but I didn't realise how much it would change people's perception of me so quickly. Like I kind of went from being an art student that like everyone knew as someone who didn't take themselves too seriously, was like creative and fun and everything. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you're Miss Ireland. You must be really up yourself. You must be a bit stuck up. You must think you're deadly. You know, all this stuff. And like that was kind of tough, but like I had my core group of friends, and I was like, you know what, you guys know me. It doesn't matter if I get like something written about me or someone writes something on the internet. It doesn't make it true. But I think when you're 19 and you're in the papers and you're getting like sack the stylist, or your agency is telling you you've gained weight, or your skin's not great, or you know, there's so much pressure that comes with it at 19. So and then obviously by the time I just turned 20 and I flew off to Miss World, which was amazing. It was 3 weeks long in London, but because you have girls from like so many different countries, we all had a chaperone. So for 3 weeks you have this chaperone and you have to be like, can I go to the bathroom? And then they're like, okay, no.
What?
Yeah, literally, I'm like, can I please go to the bathroom? I
Holly,
actually
I
hate being told what to do, especially with a simple thing like that. And they're like, could you just wait, because we need to see if Miss Israel needs to wee and Miss England is in there. And I'm like, but I need to go. But like, it actually was so incredible, because I made all these friends, and I'm still really good friends with them. Like, as in, I've seen Miss England so many times, but the rest of us are just kind of keeping in touch online and like, you know, but Miss World was a mad experience.
I would say so. I mean, did you have any kind of aspirations, or like, do you obviously, I mean, not saying that did you think you were going to win, but like something of that magnitude. I mean, you came like 46th or something as well, which is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's actually grand. I'll take that. Like,
absolutely.
I'll take that. I have no extensions. I went to flick my extensions and they're not there. But yeah, and like it was mad, but I think my odds were really high. I was in the top 5 online on all the betting things, and I was like, okay. But then I got there, right? I look back at how naive I was. I didn't have eyelash extensions. I didn't even have, like, I don't know if I had a spray tan. All my clothes were just like, you know, pennies, H&M, la la la. I was like, this is great. Got there. Most of the girls had boob jobs, nose jobs. They had like 6 suitcases full of gowns. They'd wear one outfit to breakfast, one to lunch, one to dinner. It was like they've been trained at pageant school, especially the South American girls. So
I don't think Ireland has a pageant school.
No, we don't. don't. So like gradually I formed this group and we were all the smokers at the time, and we'd just be outside like, this gas, isn't it? Like, you know, and we just kind of knew we took it for what it was. We got to go to Cambridge University, we got to go to Scotland and go on all these open top bus tours, and like the memories are amazing. But I think once I got there, I was like, I'm actually enjoying it so much more than Miss Venezuela, because for her this would change her whole life, and it means the world to her, because she's come from poverty, she's an orphan, like, and to have that kind of backstory, I can't compete with that. She's like, I'm an orphan, I was raised by nuns, and she's like, looks like a supermodel. So I was like, well, I'm from Ireland, like, I don't know what to say, you know what I mean? It was great crack though, and it kind of opened so many doors for me to come back, and like to be able to say I represent my country in something is amazing.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who'll say beauty pageants are sexist, they're pointless, you know, they're this and that. But like for me, feminism is about letting women do what they want to do. I wanted to do it, so no one should tell me that I can't.
Absolutely.
And like there obviously was the bikini round and all that kind of stuff, which I think Miss World has actually gotten rid of now.
I think, I think they've kind of like, they're definitely trying to step away from that kind of element of it in certain fields, and then in other fields they're not. And like nobody's dragging those women out onto the stage. That's what that's what I kind of think of sometimes, like, because I've been in debates about them before and I've spoken about them before, and I do think it's like you said, I mean, who is to say that you can't do this, or who's to say that this is a certain brand of feminism? So I mean, when you came back then, or like after that whole thing, I would, you know, when sometimes, like, sure, you know yourself, like with the amount of shows that you've been on and stuff, how there's a little bit of a down and a bit of a crash after something so huge like that.
I don't know if I really got that much of a crash after Miss World, because I don't know, maybe I was a little bit mentally like, I don't know, I think I went from having 3 weeks of being so chaperoned and, you know, so minded and everything, that I remember walking down Grafton Street and just being a bit jumpy.
You could pee on your own time.
I could actually go to the bathroom when I wanted, but I was kind of just delighted. I was so looking forward to just seeing my friends, going on college nights out, wearing tracksuit bottoms, like not feeling so judged all the time. And like, I put myself in that position, so I can't say, oh, poor me, they were judging me. I knew that was going to happen, but I just felt like sitting down at breakfast with 10 girls who are so incredibly good looking, it was impossible not to compare myself to everyone every single day. And I think they were probably doing that too. So we're all just like in the same boat, but you kind of forget that at that age. When you're 20, you're just like, oh, she's so beautiful. And you're just like, oh God. So when you come home, it's nice to just get a dose of reality. And like, because I'm so close to my family, like I would never get away with getting big-headed or anything, because they'd be the first ones to knock me right back down. And I think I've been lucky to have that, because I never believe my own hype. If someone's like, you're amazing, I'm just like, oh, my mum's like, oh yeah, well, blah, you know, she'll slag me, so that's good. But I think 3 years later, when I did Britain's Next Top Model, that was way tougher.
Really?
100%, yeah.
And was that something that you decided to go for yourself, or were your agents? Because like when you got back, you weren't Holly Carpenter NCAD student anymore. Like your life had changed. You know, you were in the public eye, and people were writing about you and stuff like that. So, like, did you kind of make a conscious decision to, okay, I'm going to run with this and see how it goes? Or did you want to just go back to college and focus on design more?
It was weird. I took a year out when I was Miss Ireland so I could focus on everything. And I'm glad I did, because I kind of prefer to give one thing 100%.
Yeah.
But I tried to go back to college then. And because I'd missed a year, I was in a group of people I'd never met before. And they all knew that I was in the papers and stuff like that, which was fine, like, you know, but the course was 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and I'd get a call, like, you have a shoot tomorrow, it's a 2-day shoot, or you have this and that, and I'd come in, and, like, if it was the kind of course where you just had to, like, you know, read as much as you could and remember things and do exams, that'd be fine, but they were asking me for fabric samples, my scrapbooks, my mood boards, and I was like, I can't just do that on the train, you know what I mean? So I felt, and it was actually kind of damaging for my self-esteem then, because I felt like I was stressed at photo shoots about college. I was going into college without stuff done. And I never felt like I was doing anything well.
So it just wasn't.
So I ended up dropping out. But it was kind of funny, because when I went to drop out, I was like, I'm actually, you know, dropping out. And they're like, we actually thought you already had.
Oh my God. I was like,
I didn't realise how much I'd missed. I was like, okay, well, I'll just leave now. So that was a bit awkward. But then I left and I was like, okay. So then I went to do Britain's Next Top Model. And I had actually watched it and I'd seen at the end of the credits, if you want to apply. And this was like the year before, and I just sent an application form and all that. So then when I got the call, I just went over to London, and you have to do like 3 rounds of interviews and auditions, because they get like hundreds and thousands of, not hundreds of thousands, they get like hundreds of girls in each place in the UK. But they said to me that because it's a pre-recorded show, if anyone found out about it here, and it was in the papers, they'd just edit me out and cut me out. So I didn't tell my agency, didn't tell my friends, told nobody. And when I got the call to say that I was going on the show, I told everyone that I was going to Manchester to do a jewellery course. And they were like, all right. And then suddenly I went over there. They take your phone, you have no contact with the outside world. You get 2 phone calls home a week, and they're half an hour long, and you're on camera and it's recorded. So and my friends were ringing me going, how's Manchester? Have you got accommodation? What's the course like?
Yeah.
I wasn't answering because my phone was off.
So when you were on the phone, or when you were on the show, you still couldn't say
No.
to anybody that you were on the show?
Nothing, yeah.
That's crazy.
And my mum was like, we did not think this through, because all my friends were ringing her going, where's Holly? Like, she hasn't put anything on Instagram. Like, you know, my Instagram was dead. My agency was kind of going, because I knew people would talk and it would get in the papers.
Yeah.
So I had to just lie, and like, I hate lying. It just doesn't sit right with me. But I was like, it's not for forever, whatever like that. So
and they'll understand when they understand like what it is that you were doing. And so that show must have been obviously very different to, you know, the world of like the pageants before, because it's a TV show. So like you've got those producers, and although there's a competition and there's an end goal, I always look at them and I'm just like, God, that part is so produced.
Oh,
you know?
I know.
And I mean, like, what was that experience like for you?
It was so crazy. I think I was lucky going into it that I had a bit of a background with the media, so I was quite aware with what the producers were doing.
Yeah.
Some of the other girls were like, one of the girls was 18, you know, like if they said, oh, you know, we heard Holly saying that your hair wasn't very nice at the shoot, will you go in and ask her about that? And they'll just believe it and go in and be like, I don't know. And like, they loved creating drama.
That's it.
But I kind of realised I had been typecast as the bitch, because I was just like, do you know what, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was saying what I thought, but I realised, right, I knew I wasn't like modelly looking enough to win, even though I lost so much weight before I went on. I was a rake going into that show, like, which was kind of miserable at the time, but I was so focused on it. I knew I had to be skinny, because in my head it was like, London models are so thin. So I was just completely obsessed with that, and I went over, and I was typecast as a bitch, but I knew that getting involved in the drama would keep me on the show for longer. So I didn't really care. Like, I was just like, if it gets me 3 more episodes on the show, that's fine. I'll have a bit of drama. I don't mind. So that was kind of funny, because one day...
And did you know that they were kind of doing that?
Yeah,
though?
like Elle McPherson did not like me.
Yeah, I remember that.
She didn't.
What
like
was her
the
deal?
hashtag Leave Holly Alone was actually trending.
I remember that.
She just, I think she thought...
She thought you were commercial, or she didn't think that you were modelly enough.
And I was like, fine.
But it seemed like whenever you got in
front
of her,
it was a bit personal, I think. And some of the stuff she said before the camera would go on was so cutting, and then it would go on and you're like, and she's like, my beautiful girls, and I'm like, you are a weapon. Like, she knew I didn't really like her as well, so it was a bit like,
it's probably a bit back and forth.
I think she wanted us to be like completely in awe of her, and in a way we were, but she was quite cold off camera, and I wasn't going to kiss her ass. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that's fine. But
so she wasn't very, like, I do wonder, because I mean, you watch things like America's Next Top Model and stuff like that as well, and you see Tyra Banks there, and she's like talking like that about how much she loves her girls, and they're like only 6 feet away from her. I always wonder what it's like when the cameras go off.
Like, do you know who was so lovely was Danny Minogue?
Okay.
She was consistently lovely. Like, she came to the house one night and she brought us all pajamas. There was no cameras on. She sat on the beds with us. Like, we had 10 girls in single beds in a row. We were all mic'd, and we had producers and lights on us. Like, it was like being in a hamster cage. But she'd come in and she'd just chat to us, and like, she was just so lovely. But I think I just didn't really click with Elle. Like, one time we did a fairy tale shoot, and all of the girls were princesses and I was a wicked witch. And I was like, okay. But then I just like played to it. I was like, that's fine. I'd rather be a villain. Like, it's cool. You get dark makeup. I was just like, nothing could really throw me.
Yeah.
But when I came home from it, I was just completely all over the shop. I actually think I should have probably like gone in somewhere. Like, I just was so rattled. Like, I suddenly had my phone again. My agency was like, you lied to us. You didn't tell us where you were going.
Yeah.
The papers were like, were you on Britain's Next Top Model? And I couldn't tell them. My friends were like, why didn't you just tell me? I suddenly was like, I didn't really have like something to work for. So I was like, oh, finally now I can eat. So then I was just like eating because I was so anxious.
Yeah.
So like the whole thing was just really stressful.
It seemed like what they asked of you was actually really unrealistic and kind of unfair to ask somebody to completely lie to everybody in their lives.
And the amount of pressure it put on, you know what I mean? And then also because I had a boyfriend at the time, so I could only choose who would I call, my mum or my boyfriend, while I was there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, coming home, it was weird. But like, then again, I sound like I'm giving out about it. I was the one who chose to do the show. I loved it. And it was incredible. So,
but I feel like, Holly, you're kind of the person who, like you said, you had a bit more understanding about the media when you were going in. Like, what was the competition element of it like when you were there, like in the beds with like the 9 other girls there? Like, were there girls there who were unaware of the fact that they were probably being slightly manipulated for TV cameras?
Yeah, completely. And there was girls going, you know, maybe after this, like, I could do, like, Paris Fashion Week, or I'd love to go to a casting for Chanel and stuff. And I was like, sorry, like, hun, but this isn't actually about modelling. This is a reality TV show.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't think it was going to make me a supermodel, and I didn't, but there was girls there who did.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was annoying because, like, we did an underwater shoot, which was amazing, in this massive tank where they filmed some of the scenes from James Bond.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't really swim, and I was so nervous.
Whenever I see those underwater things, like, I'm sorry, I look like a crazy person when I get in any way wet.
It's
like,
so
how
hard
do you guys
to,
look
I don't
like
know. And
pretty underwater?
And opening your eyes underwater and everything.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I remember, like, we shot that for about an hour, and one of the pictures they picked of the girl who went home, her eyes were closed, and they were like, you know, you just weren't opening your eyes. And I was like, she definitely had her eyes open for a few of those shots. Like, you just kind of, you can pick the worst picture and then send someone home quite easily.
Absolutely,
But yeah, it was fun. Like, we got to do photo shoots with snakes and, like, loads of amazing things that, like, but I never, even when I was scared, because I had been modelling, I knew that you just get in, get the job done. And then there was girls who'd cry and be like, I have a phobia of snakes, I can't swim. And I was like, I can't swim either, but, like, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Yeah. So that was why I kind of got into arguments, I think, with people, because I was just more like, let's get in, have fun and get it done.
A little bit more matter of fact.
Yeah, but I think when you're Irish and you kind of have this sense of humour where you slag people, sometimes people don't think it's funny.
Oh yeah, no, I've noticed that. I've noticed that when you go to different countries,
I know
they don't pick up on it as much.
I think that was really harsh, and I'm like, I thought it was gas. Do you know what I mean?
We're going to take a little break now because I want to come back and I want to talk about your business and things that are happening for you now. So earlier today, I was joined by two sisters who are the owners and founders of Nutshed, which is a company that is pretty much taking over the whole foods and plant-based scene. So enjoy. I'm joined in studio now by sisters Evie and Eliza Ward, aka Nutshed, which specialises in whole foods, superfoods, plant-based treats, and basically all the good stuff for your body and soul. So you're very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for having us. So I want to talk about Nutshed, obviously, and I'm going to try and get through this interview without opening the bag of goodies that are on the ground.
Like eating the whole way through.
But to be honest with you, it's distracting, and we'll get to that in a moment. But let's go back first and talk about you guys growing up and how food became such a central part of your lives.
Well, yeah, our parents have a specialty food shop in Nina for like, what is it, 37
Nearly
years?
38 years,
yeah.
Like,
so we've grown up kind of in the food
their
industry.
first baby.
Yeah. So God, when you think of the age that they were when they started it. But they really focus really heavily on kind of the same ethos we have adopted, which is just like sourcing food, working with producers, and just like the core elements
being conscious
of food.
About what's on your table, I think, was like what they were started to do. So like engaging with other makers and opening their shop up to the community of like people who had crab apples growing in their garden would bring them in and we'd make crab apple jelly, or I guess like our shop was kind of an extension of our house.
Yeah.
So us dining in our shop was like having people in our homes. So like hospitality is kind of in our core, and feeding people. Like we're feeders with our friends. Everywhere we go, we bring bags of food. So like it was kind of inevitable that we'd always end up working in food.
Yeah, it's kind of as well like with the kind of ethos that they have. Food isn't a hobby. Food isn't
a trend.
Food isn't. Food is like the most core element of living. Do you know? Yeah. So you eat seasonally. You eat with your mood, like we were saying. You know, and with living in Country Choice and growing up there, when we started like getting old enough to work, we were like clearing a few tables, and then when I was 11, you would always help Mom making jam and stuff. Mom would make like thousands of pots of marmalade every year.
She actually made the jam at home in our house, and it would be like jams and chutneys, basically whatever was in the hedgerows. Like Mum and Dad would be driving like through the countryside and they'd see something growing, or like an orchard or something in an old cemetery, and they would like I foraged them, I suppose, but that wasn't like foraging wasn't
it wasn't trendy.
It wasn't trendy, yeah. So they would bring it back and just make, you know, like a special edition of a product that was available at the time. But Mum would make that with us kind of like on her hip, as we were like babas, like, and she would just be like stirring the pots. And then we got older, we'd realize that okay, like our chores could be sealing them or labeling them or helping her wash up at the end. So like that, it was just like that was our way of life. Our mentality was working, like food, we were constantly working at home.
Yeah.
In some way or another, and it wasn't an ordeal or it wasn't a hardship. It was like our way of life, I guess. Like.
And I mean, you said there, Evie, that it wasn't necessarily trendy at the time.
No.
But your parents, obviously, they were working as a partnership. And was that something that they discovered the love of when they were together as a couple? Or how did Country Choice come about in the first place?
Well, our dad comes from an agricultural background.
Okay.
So his family are cattle dealers and farmers, you know. So he grew up with a really strong understanding of buying from a farmer, buying from a producer, and like working with what you have, and just like, you know, he talks about his father coming home from trips with bags of food. You know, he'd been around the country and like taking out all the ingredients on the table and just like being so excited to see what kind of bounty he was after coming home from whether like it was up in Smithfield or down in Kerry, you know.
It's like when people talk about Ireland not having a food culture or Ireland finding their food culture, our dad's like, what? Like we, you know, our granny kept geese, and in my mom's side there was like soda bread made every morning and raspberry jams and things. You know, there was things being made.
Just weren't Instagramming it.
And they weren't the only ones. That's the thing. Do you know what I mean? They weren't the only ones doing it. So it just like it kind of has always been second nature to us. And then, you know, when we got old enough to work, like I went into the kitchen very early to bake desserts and cakes for the cafe, because it was like I was baking loads at home and it was like, oh, I actually really, really like this. And, you know, our father was trying to explain to us that, you know, it is your livelihood if you love to do it, and if it's your passion, you know, go straight into the kitchen, make me a cake, I'll buy it off you, I'll sell it in the cafe. And then straight away we understood that it's like
the commerce of it was like ingrained in us from early on.
This could be our livelihood, and it's something we feel so passionately about and something that we believe comes so naturally to us, you know.
So how did Nutshed come about then? Because it was 2014 when you kind of officially opened it. But was there a conscious decision that you guys as sisters said, let's go into business together? And also, Country Choice isn't necessarily raw foods, right?
No, the food in Country Choice, it's a similar ethos.
Okay.
Do you know? But no, it's completely different. It's traditional, you know, Irish, hearty food, and like beautiful like pastas and home-baked hams and like lovely cheeses and things like that. So it's completely different. But
our dynamic, I think, working together though began like if you like really on the shop floor or doing promotions together in the shop. You know, like that was us working together. But then I guess like 10, 11 years ago, I started working at festivals. So we would sell. We kind of took like core ingredients from the shop and went out on the road. It was like recession time. You know, it was how do you survive, get out on the road, promote your business. So we basically set up a stall where we would go around to music festivals, agricultural shows, markets, events. And Evie did that with me.
So we was in school when you started. Eliza was in college and I was still in school.
College or something, like 19. Evie was still in school, but we like got the farmers market stall, got some grills, got some tables, like would pick flowers on the way, like wildflowers, and you know, like display the breads and get ready and go. And we did that for 10 years. And we could have had maybe like 15 people working with us at some events. And
it was great because everyone was kind of like in college at the time.
Or jobless.
Or jobless.
You know, it was like 2009. You know, like
nobody had jobs.
No, it was a funny time in
So there might have been like 10 people working with us, and they were all like our mates who had like just qualified as an engineer, or someone like just starting art college. And it was like, oh, it was the best fun ever, wasn't it?
So I guess like what we kind of realised was that we were feeding the country and then working like 14-hour days consecutively. Like it was really, really hard going. And I think we realised that we weren't really looking after ourselves.
Right.
So it kind of at the same time, Evie was always still baking and stuff. And then I think you were kind of experimenting with different like whole foods and things.
Yeah, I had kind of, I had left college prematurely. And
that's a great way to put it.
I felt I was ready to go. And I had started a little stall in the Limerick Milk Market where we still have our Nutshed stall now. And it had no name, it had nothing. It was me on a Saturday morning.
Just a little girl in an apron.
Just a little girl in an apron. I was probably, 22, selling like raw ingredients. So like nuts, seeds, whole foods, organic oats. And then I was still working the events with Eliza. So this was just on a Saturday. And I really loved it. And, you know, I loved being behind a counter and I loved talking to people. And then I kind of started making what we now know is like Nutshed type treats for ourselves at home. And then
bring them on the road with
yeah,
us,
we basically, like, I started, like, they call me the shore mom. I don't know, like, sometimes the shore mom. Sometimes when you do,
we grew up by Loch Derg, so it's a sailing reference of like when the
one
kids
mom
are
has
out,
to stay
when
in.
the kids are out on the water, one mom has to be on the shore in case like a kid like capsizes or hurts themselves or they're hungry.
So they call me the shore
mom who
mom.
looks after everyone basically.
Yeah, and I would make everyone pack lunches, you know, when they were going off to like set up and like to build a stall at like, you know, Electric Picnic or Bloom or something like that. And I would put in like hemp and goji bars and beetroot brownies. And then we kind of slowly started realizing like, oh my God, like I have so much energy. I feel great. I'm not eating crap.
Okay.
And
it's kind of like, I'm sure you know from queuing up at events and festivals, like when service is there, it's there.
Yeah.
And like, it's all about your output. You could spend like a month preparing for an event and then it's over in 3 days.
Yeah.
So you have like, it's really intense. So the whole thing of like, oh, I'm clocking out now for an hour at lunchtime is not
It's
on.
just not there,
no,
yeah.
it's not. Like you eat like before and you eat after service. That's the way it is. And like the service could be 6 hours, it could be 8, it could be 3. Like it's like make hay when the sun shines.
Yeah.
So this food was like sustaining us throughout those periods. We weren't getting, you know, like if you're there, and I think anyone who works in a kitchen knows you like run for like a Coke or something and you drink that and it gives you a bit of a hit or jellies.
Sugar
then
rush,
half an hour later, you know.
Then when you do, like you just plummet after that. So we realized that like, okay, you know, sugar levels are good. We're staying energized and it was keeping us going. So that became like a staple of what we were eating.
Wow, so you saw a real effect in your own body and your own
100%.
energy levels.
Remarkably. And even like some of the
And
guys.
I get hangry. Like, you know, like I would be difficult to work with. If I'm like hungry, my energy would I would just be like real sensitive or something and not able to keep focused.
Yeah,
so,
and everyone noticed. Like even like loads of the lads we were working with, or even like our dad, you know, everyone.
God, Eliza's such a bitch to work for.
No, I'm saying everyone noticed like how much energy that they got from the treats. It was great.
It
Like,
saved
and
us,
then
really,
you know, I was just looking at all these ingredients on the stall. And you have to remember, like back then, we're talking like late 2013. I would have started like the very simple stall. And when I was telling people that the nuts were raw, they were asking me were they safe to eat.
Right.
Like
This is like a new language. Like
so I mean, like raw food and the kind of raw food movement is very much out there now.
For sure,
And you'd say, I mean, the word trendy is kind of annoying, but like, you know what I mean? Like people are kind of into it. They've learned a little bit about it.
It's
But
just
back
a new
then,
thing that we've learned about and integrated into our diets now. Like
but back then it was just, why are you giving me raw food? Why won't you cook your
so
food?
like if we were making,
I'm not going to be full from this or something.
if I was like, basically, so we started making some of the treats for the stall as a way to explain to people how to use the ingredients, you know. But I'd make a raw brownie with like hemp seeds and goji berries. And like that, people would ask, was it safe to eat? And you'd explain to them that, you know, it was the plant in its purest form and everything. And then people were kind of very quick to kind of get on board. And, you know, everyone was like starting to buy a lot of whole foods and nuts and seeds. So they were like really happy to see that kind of product. And then it started as maybe 2 types of raw energy balls a week or brownies. And then it kind of just slowly edged out on the stall. And now there's like a little section of nuts and the rest is just all raw vegan treats and plant-based treats,
And how do you feel the reaction is now, like as the years have gone on, I suppose, and as these kind of, I suppose, raw and vegan type foods have come to the forefront and people are really talking about the benefits that they give you in terms of like exactly how you feel, like not straight away obviously, but like the change in it. Are you a bit like, well, we got there first and we've known about this for years?
No,
or are you very much like, well, this is fantastic? Or also in terms of like trends, like you were mentioning earlier, are you worried that like it's going to go away? Or
I
actually don't think it is going to go away. Like no, people are not going to revert back to eating bad food. Or now it's like we have information, we know what's available. Our diets have changed. We're more interested in what we're eating. We're interested in the stories and the people behind it. Like why would that won't go away? So I think it's just going to evolve more.
I think you can look at. I think it's a bit of a shift, you know, and I think you can look at it and you can kind of see some parts of it that might be like trendy or like, hey, that word like Instagrammable, you know, that kind of way. And I think those things will phase out as much as anything. But I think there's been a really positive shift into like plant-based eating. Not like strict diets in any way, shape or form, but like just a shift to everyone eating way more plants, understanding how good they are for you, not eating as much rubbish. And I think
better to yourself during the week. That's a big
I don't think that's trendy. Do you know what I mean? I think there's aspects of it that have become trendy, but I don't think like eating loads of plants is going to fade away.
Yeah.
Do you know?
If it makes you feel better, then it really shouldn't as well.
But do you think like that people are just becoming more informed, more conscious, I think?
I think people hop on trends, to be honest with you. And I think like you guys growing up in an industry like this, and obviously like getting so much knowledge from your parents, is you're very equipped, whereby I think people do tend to go, oh, a raw energy ball, awesome, I'm going to take a picture of this, I'm going to put it on my social media and do this kind of thing, but not necessarily understanding exactly why they're doing it or what the benefits are.
But if it tastes good as well, that's the other thing.
Now this is the thing. If it tastes good, give me all of it. Do you know?
Why not? So that's why should you have to compromise?
Yeah, absolutely.
There should be no hardship in food.
No,
do you know what I mean?
Sure. And just in case anybody is kind of listening or watching to this and they're really interested in finding out more about like raw food and kind of the stuff that you do, can you tell us exactly what the benefits are in, say, not cooking? Do you know what I mean? As in, like, it is about keeping the enzymes and keeping things in the food, right? So when we're cooking food, are we getting rid of a huge amount of nutrients, basically?
Well, no, I think it depends on the type of food. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I think a lot of the problem is that people are all or nothing.
Yeah.
And there's no sustainability in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, for a person, that's not sustainable to be all or nothing. So I think someone that, like, lives on a diet of meat and 2 veg and then wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to be a raw vegan. You know, you can't do that to yourself.
They'll probably do that for a few months maybe and then revert back. Or like,
so I think the most important thing that people can adopt is just more plants. Like, I don't think you necessarily have to like make a massive change, you know. Eat more raw food, yes, you're eating in its purest state, but like you need also your like carbohydrates, you need your brown rice, you need your potatoes, you need all those kind of things, you know. So I think just, the general vibe is just eat as many plants as you can. You don't have to cut out anything else if you're not ready to.
Yeah.
And just,
don't be so hard on yourself.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
And maybe like if you're going to do something like that, read up on it a little bit and actually learn about the reasons behind why you want to do it as opposed to for the gram.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, like, you know, Ireland is a very hard place to live in the winter. Do you know what I mean? So if you wake up and you're like, I'm only going to eat raw food, like it's cold and it's dark and, you know, you can't. Like, so, I think just like take it easy, you know?
Absolutely. So tell us now about, so obviously you were saying that you started the stall in like 2013, 2014. Didn't have a name or anything like that. So what about the name? Was that a kind of a aha moment?
It actually, like, it's a funny thing because
I always joke about this because it sounds like a really corny lie.
There's two things that have come to Evie in a dream. That was the name of our dog, Panko, and the name of the business, Nutshed.
Come on.
I know, it sounds like such a lie.
And it's so bad. We were like,
it came to you in a dream?
No, it actually was a whole thing. If she came down, she was like, Nutshed. Like, hilarious.
So it's really embarrassing.
No, that's great. I mean,
well, like it sounds like a lie first and foremost.
it's a good lie. If it's a lie, grand.
Well, you know what? Yeah,
good for the business.
Panko backs it up. Like that's where that name
I
comes.
Panko.
Like a Panko rescue dog.
Like a panko
Breadcrumb.
It's a
like a
type of
Panko prawn or like, you know.
Ah.
Like I don't know.
But think about
she's
food all the
very
time.
cute.
So in the dream, were you walking by a Nutshed or what was the
like
premise?
so I couldn't figure out a name. You know, I think often with those kind of things,
for ages,
when
and
you think
like,
too hard about things, they don't work. Like, it
and
doesn't
there's
come
so
to
many
you.
nut puns, and we were like, oh, and
They
they just
hate
kept
all the
coming.
nut puns. You know what I mean? Like you know, we're nuts, like all that kind of stuff.
Nuts
like,
for
you
nuts.
hate it. Like
Nuts
so,
are, well, that's not a pun,
yeah.
So I don't have a nut company.
So like we couldn't name it for ages. We just like didn't have a sign, do you know, and like didn't have a name.
She was
like,
a little girl with an apron, just like.
Liza was like, you're gonna have to start like an Instagram or something soon. I was like, what am I gonna call it? Like, do you know? And then we at one of the events that Liza was doing, we had a little
Concession.
that was built out of wood, and then didn't really think anything more of it. Where we made like, what did we do? They were like
Snack, kind of like
harissa and smoked paprika nuts and like rosemary and sea salt and pepper, and they were really, really good. So yeah, I was just like, you know, that state where you're like nearly asleep. I think it's when you're like at your most chill.
Yeah.
And I was like, Nutshed, cool, yeah, this will work.
Nice.
Yeah, and then like had loads of crappy names that I just were like, nah, that's not it. And then the next day I was like, Eliza, Nutshed. And she was like, yeah.
You're on
sure.
board
Yeah,
straight
why not?
away.
Yeah. So we got a sign then very
Got a
quickly
sign.
after that.
So the
And
things,
bam, we have a business.
things don't come to you in dreams ever, no?
Oh, probably really stupid things, but no, not really. Like, no, I could just be, I'm kind of a bit of a daydreamer.
She's always chill, that's the thing,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm a daydreamer, so like I could think of something and then I just have to like write it in my notes, or, you know, the worst thing, we live together, work together, and I could just start thinking about something at like 11:30 about like, maybe we should do this, or, you know, I think we should talk to the accountant about this tomorrow, and Evie's like, it's over.
11:30 at night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's when I think of things
Yeah.
when I'm in bed. It's really late, and then I'll write things
Yeah.
down and I won't sleep.
Yeah.
I'm kind
that's
of
the
highly
thing.
strung anyway, so I find it hard to chill out. So
Yeah.
I'm like, if you start talking to me about the accountant at 11:30 at
And I
night,
do, I've had to really like stop myself.
I'm
'cause,
gonna
like,
wake up
there's
at 4 o'clock in the morning and try ring him or something.
there's
you
a
know?
look, you know, and I'm just like, oh shit, like I'm after bringing it up again. Or I'll text you at, you know, at 10:30 or something about something, and you're like, yeah, cool, let's chat about it tomorrow. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Chat about it
See ya.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what you brought in, and I just want to have a little look.
Yeah, you're
and have
hungry.
a-
That's
yeah,
fine.
I'm really hungry. I've been
That's
hungry
fine.
this whole time. But let's talk about the future of Nutshed. So, what are your aspirations in the years to come? Because, like, realistically, you know, if you officially had the dream in 2014, for the name, it, you know, it hasn't been around that long.
Yeah.
So we've been wholesaling for like what,
3.5
3.5
years we've been
Yeah.
wholesaling now. We were kind of like, we kind of wanted to take it slowly and kind of find our feet, you know. Like, I think
that was a hard thing as well. Like you're watching other people grow really quickly, and just out in businesses, or you can be looking over your shoulder all the
Yeah.
time. And I think we like talked about that, just been like, no, just stay in our lane and make sure like not to do anything that didn't feel right. So we have been quite paced, I think.
yeah.
a really good way to be sometimes in business, though, isn't
kind
it?
of, sometimes it goes against your kind of instinct, you know.
Right,
but
okay.
I think
You want to be like, I want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Straight away. I want
Yeah.
everybody to
People
have
are
it.
asking you like,
Yeah.
you know,
and
like
comparisons, like everyone does that, you know. Like everyone creates comparisons where you're like, that person is just doing so well, you know. So
But it sounds like you have like really nice facets to the business as
Yeah.
well.
we're lucky enough to like love it, and I think we worked really, really hard for the first while to get a bit of a balance, because as everyone who like has had their own business, whatever, knows, like you're working 7-day weeks, do you know, at the start, but we were certain that like that isn't productive, those days are gone, nobody should have to work like
we'd
that.
also seen like, you know, our parents worked in like like, you know, they're still working, like they work extremely hard. Working in food is a really, really hard business. Like you don't get in it to make money. It has to be a love because it's so challenging. Our dad always said, like when we were kids, you know, like we might not have all the money in the world, but we'll have the best food in the world. Like that was the thing. So
lovely.
yeah, so I think like it's so important to learn from other people, and I think we reference our parents a lot because like their 37 years of experience has to be for something. And we you know, we have to be informed by it and learn by it and inspired by it. So like we know what it takes. Like if we have to work the 14 hours, we will put in the work. But I think you have to think long term, like what do we want? We want to have a balance in our life, like want to be happy. We want to...
So it stunts your creativity when you're working that hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like everyone knows that. Like if you work too hard at something, you are stressed, and stress stunts creativity. Like it just does.
Well,
you
I
know?
always think the big problem with people who are working like crazy hard is that it's always, almost always, to do with something that you're so passionate about. But the fear is, what if you work so hard that passion goes away?
I think we were talking about, was it Andrea Horan was... That's kind of like something she's been talking about lately, is like people were asking her, like, when you open up more and more tropical popsicles or whatever, and she was like, I have a lovely life, I have a great business, I'm really happy. How is that not the epitome of success?
People are always looking to that expansion and to what's
and then you
next.
feel obligated to fulfill other people's needs or curiosities. So we're taking our time. I think like in terms of our business, like we're wholesaling and that's going really well, and we'd love to expand that further. We've started, we launched our peanut butter at Bloom last year.
Okay.
So like we want to get that in as many shops as possible.
Yeah,
like
in the last couple of months as well, we've kind of got a system in place where we can wholesale anywhere in the country now.
Okay.
Yeah, so before we used to have to get into the car and deliver by hand.
and it was mostly Dublin was where we were servicing.
Yeah, so now in the last couple of months, we've
been surfing in Strand Hill in Sligo, or
and then down in Skibbereen we have some stuff in O'Neill, and then Arios up in Drogheda, Coffee Workhouse in Galway. Do you know?
Yeah.
So that's been brilliant. Do you know? That's just been really good. It's kind of opened up more avenues, and it's kind of like cafes have an outlet now where they need to have those kind of products. Do you know? And a lot of people just don't have the facility to make them in their kitchen. Do you know?
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think we definitely like to expand on that more.
Yeah, we have we kind of sit with ideas for a while, and maybe we should be quicker executing them, but like we do kind of sit with ideas. And I suppose the next thing we're hoping to have like a retail product, so that you can buy like Nutshed in a packet in shops around the country. So that's what we're driving towards. There's a lot of development and planning and work that goes into that, but I think like that would be the next step, along with the wholesale expansion and the peanut butter, but just to grow the brand, like that's our kind of our dream.
Well, I'm so excited to see how it goes. But speaking of peanut butter, let's just...
You're still hungry?
I'm so hungry. I've just been thinking about this.
You love peanut butter?
I love peanut butter. Look at this. It's so pretty. I love the tote bag. Okay, so talk me through what's in this. So there's the peanut butter.
So we've got two types
Crunchy,
of peanut
honey
butter.
roasted. Nobody in my office is getting any of this, by the way. This is all coming home with me.
Should have brought up a kilo.
Should have, we'll send you up a kilo.
Yeah.
So there's two types. This is the original one, so it's literally just roasted peanuts with a little bit of sea salt, some vanilla extract, and then with the crunchy one, we honey roast some raw peanuts, chop them up, and then we fold them back through the original one.
I love it when people fold things
Just-
into
yeah,
things.
it's so good.
It's just that word,
table
folding.
effect.
And then,
then-
is this all sealed up and lovely? Open it.
So it's a little selection box.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
This
so
looks so... I'm sorry for anybody who's listening to this, because you won't be able to see how divine it looks. So can you talk us through... Oh my God, it smells so good. Can you talk us through this? So I'm looking at 4 bowls and 4 cake type things.
yeah, so we basically have, these are the raw energy balls, so they're all made in an organic date base. This one here is the peanut butter one, so I think that's probably, is it our most popular product that we do, the peanut butter ball.
People are kind of
so
like,
fast.
people just really love peanut butter, and that really like.
Well, so do we, like.
Yeah.
Well,
It
I
just
like,
tastes
yeah,
so
but
good.
that's the one. If we're like in the car, on the road, we'll take like a bag of the peanut butter balls with us.
So good. And then we have an orange
so
and sesame
decadent.
one, which is like a cacao-based one with fresh orange rolled in sesame. I think that's my one. I think that's my favourite one.
I was like, none of these are yours.
They change all the time as well, your favourite ones. You know when you're making them all the time. And then we do a coconut one, which is a cacao-based as well, just rolled in some coconut. And then a lemon and turmeric, which we call like the unsung hero.
so good. It's
People
like a
are
lemon
I'm not sure
curd.
about a lemon one, but it actually tastes quite like lemon curd.
I love lemon.
I'm
Is that that
a
one
big
there?
lemon fan. It's so
Big,
zesty and good.
I
Yeah.
love lemon. And look, there's flowers.
Little rose petals. Yeah.
It's so pretty.
And then we have, this one here is kind of like a raw Snickers. So it's a date and almond base, and then it's a date tahini caramel, and we make our own fresh tahini for every batch. And then it's with roasted peanuts, cacao topping, and then flaked sea salt on top. So you get like the sweetness of the dates, the bitterness of the tahini, and then the saltiness of the sea salt afterwards, which is really, really good. And then this one is similar. So it's a raw caramel square. So it's just loads of the date tahini caramel and loads of crunchy cacao nibs on top, which are lovely.
Yum.
And then this one is a peanut butter blondie. So it's made in a chickpea base. It's a curveball.
Yeah,
it's so good. Yeah, so it's really high in protein.
You had
then
me till chickpea.
No, it's there's
wait
no
till later.
taste.
Yeah,
Okay,
like,
I'll try it.
It's really, really good. And then that's our beetroot brownie.
Okay, beautiful.
Which
I've
is-
heard about that. Yeah.
They're
that's
really, really good.
I'm
for that.
so excited. Guys, thank you so much for coming in. I
at
really,
all.
really
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having us.
And now my mission is to get all of these back over to my desk without anybody stealing them.
Rugby tackling,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So Evie and Eliza, thank you so much
Thanks
for
so
coming
much for
in.
having us.
Really
Cheers.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are back with Holly Carpenter. So we've pretty much caught up on everything that happened in your early career, and I want to talk about everything that's going on with you now. So Dancing with the Stars, you just finished up there a while ago. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I think I absolutely, the minute I got the call, I was so excited about the challenge because I didn't really have a dancing background at all. So we kind of started preparing for the show in October.
Okay.
And we kind of obviously had all the days where we were filming the TV ad, filming the promo, shooting the pictures and all of that like kind of fun stuff. And then it kind of, my journey on the show was a bit dramatic because obviously I had been partnered with Curtis. We'd been getting on great. We had 5 weeks of rehearsing under our belt. We all broke for Christmas. And then on the day after Stevens' day, I got the call to say he had been in an altercation on night out and was left getting surgery on his leg. So I was just like, and I felt terrible. He's only 23. Dancing is his life. Like I felt sick for him. And like you spend like so long each day with one person, and when you've never danced with anyone before, you gain that trust where you fall back and you're kind of going, okay, he's going to catch me. That's fine. So we finally just got to that level, and then I was like, okay, I don't really know what's going to happen now. And they're like, don't worry, we're flying a different dancer over for you. So it was just really weird for me, but like obviously I got to meet Trent. He was lovely. He was Australian, really chilled, lovely guy. But I think that definitely kind of made me a bit nervous at the start of the show.
Well, I mean, it's something that like obviously what happened to Curtis was
horrific,
absolutely horrific, and the fact, like you said, you know, he had an injury to his leg, so as a dancer, that's like the absolute worst thing that could happen. When then everybody kind of realized, you know, that he was going to be okay, and he spoke out about it and everything, that was great too. But I mean, for you, I suppose like you are already, you know, contractually in this show, and then you're going to have to dance live on TV
with someone else, with
somebody who you hadn't been training with. So that must have been a bit like. Scary.
I think we focused so much on my first dance, me and Trent, like my salsa, because I knew I was opening the show, everything like that. So I gave the salsa 100%, and I think I got 5s and 6s from the judges, which I was like, okay, that's fine. Middle scores, you can work up from that. And then when we did our next dance, they were saying, you know, you guys don't have that much chemistry. And like I agreed. I was like, you know, we have just met. Trent is completely different to Curtis. He's also married, which is something I found kind of like I didn't really know how to act with him, because with Curtis I could like, you know, jump on his back and be like, hey, let's go, like whatever. We were just like mates, and there was no, I could film him and take selfies with him and stuff. But when someone's married and they're very professional, I don't want to ever look like I was flirting with them. And also because the press are so big into like the Strictly Curse and stuff. If they
love that, don't
they love it. Like if I did anything, they'd be like, oh, there she is now. Do you know what I mean? Like home wrecker. And I'm like, I haven't done anything. So I was really terrified of that. So I think that kind of affected me too. But like the experience was amazing. The training was tough. Like I think when you watch it, you don't realise you train flat out Monday to Friday.
No, I know. I was trying to get in touch with you. Like 9 to 6, 9 to 6, 9 to 6.
I know.
Like proper flat out full days of training.
So it was great, like cardio, great fun, great challenge. And yeah, I was so disappointed to go so early. I wanted, like I had tunnel vision that I was going to be in it for the whole month of February at least. So like that was quite difficult. You talk about the come down from a show. Like you go from having your schedule, and I've done my fittings for week 5, 6, 7. I know my songs, and like so invested in it, and then suddenly you're sent home, you do all the press on Monday, and then on Tuesday I was like, I don't actually have any plans for the week. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You feel really like I was beating myself up a lot about it. And I was, you know, so disappointed that I was kicked off before Curtis got back. And it was just a bit of a shit show. So I was just like, right. But then I'm all about like positive thinking and not beating yourself up and all that. So I was like, you have to practice what you preach. Just get yourself together, whatever. Like, and I think I had been warned going into it that if you're a former model from Dublin, it's going to be harder to get the votes because people from Dublin don't vote. Women don't vote for women. People are going to think all the stuff I said before. Sure, look at this one, she's a model, la la la. So I think I was kind of disappointed as well in a way.
God, that's like bad odds against you. To be
I
honest
know.
with you.
I was
kind of up against it when you put it out like that.
I said it to my mum. I was like, I wish I was a GAA player from Kerry. And she's like, you don't though. And I was like, well, I don't know if I do, but maybe just for this show. But
I mean, it's a fair point. Though.
I know. Literally, I was like, I should be a GAA player from Kerry if I want to win. But I was so like. Because like I gave up modelling in 2015 and I've been trying to obviously go back to my design roots, my business and everything like that. So when we filmed the VT, which is like the whole introduction of how you're introduced to the audience, I said, can we film it at a Love Lift shoot? And Love Lift is my jewellery line. So they were like, yeah, sure. And we filmed it in the studio. I had made up a whole mood board. I did a big interview about the brand and how nice it is to not be modelling anymore and to be back to my design roots. And they had shots of me like, you know, with all the new bits and everything. And then when I watched the show, it was like, hey, I'm Holly. And then it was just this shot of me with a wind machine and me modelling jewellery. You couldn't tell that it was my brand.
Oh, God.
It looked like I was at a basic photo shoot. It looked like I was still modelling, which I don't anymore. And I was so disappointed.
So did you call them out on it?
I did, Oh, straight away. I was like, guys, come on. Like, I said so many times, you know, I don't want to look like I'm just a model. There's nothing wrong with being just a model, but it's something I did from 19 to 25 that I've parked.
And you've moved on from
Yeah.
it, and you have other
And I was
things
like,
going on.
I want like people who don't know me to get a better sense of who I am. And they're like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's fine. Like as the show goes on, you'll get to do that and all that. But I never really felt like I got to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's just a shame. But I think with shows like that, you're very typecast. Like Peter Stringer is the athlete. He's got the body. He's always there with his abs out. You've got the model. That was obviously me, even though I bloody don't model anymore. And then you've got Mairead Ronan, who's the mum. And like we were all typecast. So it's kind of hard
and then
to
you
break
have
through
the
that.
Yeah, like literally. It's pretty much by the book.
Yeah, and like it's a great show for that reason because you're sitting at home with your mum. Your mum's going to love Mairead, your dad's going to love Stringer, the daughter might like me, if she didn't bloody vote for me though, obviously, and then whoever else. So like, it's grand, I'm over it now. But it was definitely a come down. I was just like, and obviously then everyone, when I got eliminated, I was so disappointed, which was written all over my face. And people on Twitter were like, oh my God, look at her face. Like they were saying that I had a death stare because I was just like, fuck's sake. But like, obviously, what do you want me to do? I just got eliminated from a show that I'm having a great time on. Do you want me to be smiling, like looking like I'm on ecstasy? Like, I don't know what you want. So then people were like, oh my God, she's so ungrateful. She's such a sore loser. And I'm like, in this day and age, we're actually all told to be able to express our emotion, to be open. It's okay not to be perfect, just be yourself. And the minute I do that, like, I've done the pageant thing. I wasn't going to go, thank you so much, I'm off. Like, it was a bit annoying.
I think that's so funny because, like, well, it's funny just the way you impersonated your own death stare there. I really like that. But as well as that, like, obviously everybody was following you guys on Instagram throughout this journey, and it just looked like great crack.
That was
Do you know
the
what I
biggest
mean?
thing,
Like you and Johnny backstage and stuff. Like it looked like yous were just having the absolute best time as well. So aside from anything, like you weren't trying to be a professional dancer.
No,
you weren't trying.
I wasn't trying to join Riverdance or anything. Like I literally was there having a ball and like because when you work for yourself and you're self-employed, I spend a lot of time like on my own. Do you know what I mean? I'm always driving from A to B. I'm always doing meetings and obviously I go to events and stuff like that. But I know that I'm a one-man band really, and like a lot of us feel like that on the show, but we were just this group, and you'd from 9 to 12 you'd dance, then you go for breakfast with everyone, then you get lunch, and then you know, like, and
it's routine as well.
I know,
like, and sometimes
routine,
a welcome change, I would say, from somebody who's kind of doing their own thing. And like you mentioned there, your brand and your business, so like 2015 came and you decided to kind of put modelling to bed.
I did,
And was that something that you had to kind of go to your agents and were like, see ya?
Yeah, basically. I was just like, do you know what? Something switched in my head. I just was like, I am done with this. Like, I'm actually so done.
Right.
Like, obviously it was great at times, but there's just times where it just, like, it chips away at you.
And is this everything from even just being on photo shoots or just working with different people?
And just, like, I mean, it's a really friendly industry here compared to London, especially how all the models treat each other is so lovely. Everyone's genuinely friends. The hairdressers and all are all nice and everything. But I had a few model agents who were just so past remarkable, so rude. And I was like, why am I... It was the same thing like with Elle Macpherson. I'm like, do you actually expect me to kiss your ass and let you speak to me like that? Because that's not going to happen. Like, so I was just like, you know what? I'm actually done with this. I'm going to reassess where I want to be. I'm only 25. Like, it's fine. So, you know, I was just like, right, I'm going to go back and think, like, what did I want when I was 18? And I was like, I wanted to be a designer. I wanted to do that. So, like, that's when I thought of Love Lift.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole kind of message behind the brand is about, like, positivity and self-love. And working in the agency, in the industry, I'd seen how hard women are on themselves. Yeah. And, like, it's just ridiculous. It's outrageous. And I know there's pressure on men these days too, but it's just women need to give themselves a bloody break. So I wanted it to be something that, like, made people feel special, reminded them, like, a nice little positive message, and also that was affordable, because there's a lot of brands like that, but they're €50 and above. And I wanted it to be in the pricing, like in the kind of gifting price range, where if your friend had a breakup, or if it was someone's birthday, or if you're in college and you want to wear something on the weekend, you can afford it and you can pick it up and it's not a massive expense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
And how hard have you found it to, like, I mean, you kind of said it there with the Her.ie video type thing that they did, but like, how hard have you found it to kind of, I suppose you don't want to shake it off because modelling is your roots and that's where you started, but have you found it difficult to kind of be taken seriously as a businesswoman?
Oh yeah, daily.
Really?
Yeah, I think that because there's the whole wave of influencers now, and you get to collaborate with brands and stuff. And sometimes there's situations where someone will rock up to a photo shoot, they'll collaborate with a brand, they'll get paid, and it might be a 6-month contract or a 2-month contract, whatever. And that's cool. Like, people, like, I've done that before, and it's about staying true to yourself and only working with brands that you believe in. But with Love Lift, I'm like, I have to hammer home all the time that, like, it's my company. I've designed the pieces, I've designed the packaging, I've met with all the stockists, like, I'm heavily involved. But people just think, like, you know, Asher, she probably rocked up to the photo shoot. She probably doesn't even, you know, doesn't even care.
And
so
do you get those kind of comments and stuff? Like, when you say that, it's not just like, you're not imagining this, like, people actually say these kind of things to you.
I remember, obviously, there was the whole Bloggers Unveiled thing back in the day. It was like not even a year ago. But that was horrendous, because you just see all these comments about yourself. And like, I was like, my mum was always like, why do you even read them? You know what's true. But I think that being a woman in business is hard in the first place. And then, so it wasn't in my head. People were definitely saying it, but I think now people know, you know, and like, whatever, I just have to get a thicker skin with like that kind of thing. And
I mean, like, I always like, and I interview a lot of people who are in your industry, and you know, I think it's easy to say I'm gonna get a thicker skin, and I think it's easy for people who aren't doing what you do to be like, oh well, you know, but you were knocked off a show, you looked a little bit sad about it, and then people gave you a rake of abuse.
People said I had a bad attitude, I was ungrateful, I was a sore loser because I looked unhappy about a genuinely disappointing situation.
So it seems like,
I know, you can't do anything right. Like, sometimes I feel like that. If people have their mind made up about you, that's fine. If someone says that I have a bad attitude, it doesn't mean that I have a bad attitude. That's what I have to remember. Like, what they say isn't true. And like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to be oversensitive about it. I know that if you want to take the good from the industry, you have to take the bad too, and that's fine. But I just think people could do it being a bit nicer. Like,
I mean, it's a hard graft as well. Essentially, like, you know, like you said, when you don't have a routine of a show like that, you know, you're working for yourself, and you have to kind of get out there and represent your own brand and stuff. As well as that, like, you're in the public eye, and your personal life is always in the papers as well. Like, this happens to you, and I don't think it's something that necessarily, like, I know it happens to men as well, but like, it happened to you with Dancing with the Stars. They were talking about you and Curtis, and like, do you get so pissed off when that kind of stuff happens? But it seems like you don't. It seems like it doesn't affect you. From an outsider's point of view, it looks like it doesn't affect you. And I guess I want to know, like, is it just because it's been going on for so long that it doesn't affect you, or do you genuinely not care what people think?
I've gotten so much better, because it has been since I was 19. And like, I'm 27 now, so it's a good wedge of my life where I have had to deal with this. But like, I just don't feed the beast. I think if they're looking for a quote, I don't give them a quote. I don't go on stories on Instagram and go, oh my God, guys, this is happening to me. I just let it die a little bit, and that's fine. Like, I've gone through full relationships and breakups, and looking at my Instagram, you would never even know that happened. There might be a few emotional quotes there, and you're like, okay, maybe something's going on. But I just think, like, I kind of try to keep all that private. But what annoys me more is if they decide to write Holly and Curtis, la la la, I get paranoid that people think that I'm enjoying it, or that I'm feeding this to the press, or that I've given this interview, and I wouldn't do that. So but then that comes back to just trying not to care what people think. You know what I mean?
So it's kind of almost like a vicious circle, because like, you don't want to care about it too much, but then by not caring about it, you don't want people to think that, like, you either do care or you don't care about it.
Exactly. And obviously, because
it sounds exhausting.
It is a little bit, because obviously I have Love Lift. So if somebody from a magazine that I know, I see them at events, they're a journalist, they've helped me out, they've put my pieces in the Christmas gift guide, they've done shoots with me, and they're like, look, we need a quote on this, is this true? And like, a part of me feels guilty, because I'm like, oh, I know this person has helped me out before, but then I'm like, no, because whatever you say, you can Google it, and it's always going to be there. So I'm just like, I'm really sorry, I just don't want to talk about it. And I mean, my mum's always like, look, they're going to hang up and move on to the next story. They don't really care that much. And like, your personal life, you're not getting, you know, it's not like they're saying, you know, please give us this story. And at the end of the day, I'm not, you know, Angelina Jolie. They're not going to care that much.
Yeah, but I think it's as well just kind of, like you said yourself, like, you obviously have, like, you've mentioned your mom so many times, so you obviously have like a great support system in her, and you've got a great group of friends as well who all obviously know about you. Like, I read something, I know you're best friends with Rob Kenny, and I read something really interesting recently about him. He's in a new relationship, and he has been for a while, but like, just decided not to put him on any social media or anything like that. And then he came out and said, well, this is why I decided to do that.
It's so true.
It's my prerogative, it's my life if I want to do that. He went through like a rough time before. So I mean, I suppose when people choose to do that, there is a certain amount of respect as well that you have to give that.
Definitely. And also I think, like, I was seeing someone last summer and I felt like it's not actually just my decision. I can't go, do you know what, I'm actually going to start talking about him because maybe he doesn't want the attention.
Yeah.
And like, you have to respect that other people aren't used to it. Like, I can walk into a big event and I see everyone and do the pictures and stand there on my own and get an Instagram shot and do all this stuff. And one of my friends would be like, how do you do that? Like, I'd be way too anxious and like, it's so loud in here, there's so many people and there's pictures. But things like that don't make me anxious. But then I might have a day where like I'm having a really anxious day and the thought of going in somewhere and getting a coffee, I'm like, oh, I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, so we all have our own little triggers that like, whatever. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know, it's so weird. Whenever I'm having like a day where I'm really stressed, I'm so sensitive to noise. And you know, in coffee shops where they bang the grinder, I have to leave. Like, I'm just like, I can't do this.
And then someone's walking slow in front of you and you're like, for fuck's sake.
I'm like, no. And then when all these things are happening, I'm realising that it's actually just me. I'm like, obviously because other days I'm just strolling along, I don't really care. Like, but yeah, back to Rob and Shane, he's a lovely guy and like, they're so cute. And obviously I live with Rob, so it's nice, it's great that I like Shane because that would be awkward.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was nice that he did that. And like, you know, but the papers always want a story. They always want to know if you're single. And now that I've noticed a big change now that I am 27 and I'm not 21 or 22. They're like, oh, you're single. Oh, and how is that?
Yeah, that changes. Like when you're,
fine.
like it seemed to change. I remember for me anyway, it was like the moment you get into kind of 26, 27 range, it's like, oh, you're single, as opposed to like, you're single.
It's not like, woo, it's like, oh.
I know.
I'm like, it's still fine.
You almost, you get like, I'll just shimmy. You get like the little kind of head tilt is like, oh.
Yeah, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm fine. But I mean, I go through waves with that. Like, sometimes you'll see like a really cute couple. Like, I was watching First Dates last night and I was like, this is so cute. But then other times you just go out and you're like, I don't have someone calling me going, where are you? What time are you going to be home? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I can do my own thing. But yeah, I think now that Rob's all loved up, I'm kind of like, oh, that looks nice. Like, they're all in a blanket watching Netflix and I'm like, hey guys.
Just Holly in the middle.
He's like, oh, she's here. Yeah.
There was a while there as well when you were doing really funny things. You were like putting up on your story just gas things that were happening to you on Tinder, and I found it so funny. Just like first off, I think there's a bunch of people who take your pictures.
Yeah.
Like there's probably like 100 or more Holly Carpenter.
I've just accepted it now.
Yeah, but like, do they get sent to you a lot as well?
Yeah, they do. But like, I remember there was quite a serious situation where I don't know why I'm laughing because someone was using my pictures and they had been talking to a guy for literally 3 months pretending to be me. Oh my God. And they had given him a mobile number and been chatting away to him, getting really personal. Like, he was telling them loads about their life.
He thought he was dating Holly Carpenter.
He thought that we were dating. And then he messaged me on Facebook and goes, like, he messaged me 3 times on Facebook, but I didn't answer. And he goes, why do you always text me back straight away, but when I DM you on Facebook, you don't reply? I was like, I've never texted you in my life. Don't know who you are. And he's like, what? So this gets even weirder.
Oh my God, catfish.
This catfish was making fake nudes of me. So
What?
she was photoshopping my head onto naked bodies, and like the only reason you'd know it wasn't me is the bodies were unreal. Like, the girl had like massive fake boobs and stuff. I was like, no one's gonna believe that's me. I was like, it's fine, handfuls enough. But I was like, that's really not okay. So
No, Jesus.
No, and then I was thinking, God, like, I'm working with like Breast Cancer Ireland. I'm working with all these charities. If this comes out that I'm like, you know,
how did you find this out? Was this from that guy?
Yeah, that guy. But then I was like, I thought maybe this is him.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so I went to the guards. I was like, look, the location is Cork. This is the mobile number. These are the images they've made of me.
Yeah.
La la la. They're like, there's nothing we can really do. I was like, why? And they're like, literally, they're not really like harassing you or anything. I said, but this is really could be damaging to my career and stuff.
Absolutely.
And there's, for whatever way the laws are, there's nothing they could do.
That's crazy.
So now when people send it to me, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, there's nothing I can do. I don't want to get stressed about it. Like, it's not me. I don't know. But sometimes it's like, Claire, 27 from Cork, and it's like my pictures. I'm like, I just don't get it. But Tinder's tragic. Like, I always delete it and then I get it back again.
Yeah, I was like that when I was single. I would be like, Monday to Friday, hate Tinder, Tinder. And then like maybe on a Sunday night,
You're kind of like, meh.
Like no intentions of going on a date.
No, it's just like kind of going on ASOS.
Yeah.
You're just like, I wish you could have like Deliveroo. Like, I'm like, you know the way when when you're making a burrito bowl, you're like, will I have salsa? Will I have chicken? Bit of guac? Like, you could put that much detail into Tinder because then it would get rid of like so many people. Like, you're literally like, this is the height. This is like the attributes.
Because they don't really do that. Obviously, it's just like location and age. That's pretty much it.
And I don't know. I know that like a lot of people meet on Tinder and it works out.
Yeah, it does seem to. Well, it works for some people. I don't know. But I mean, I never had like the best experiences. But I do think it's kind of to each their own. But not like funny, tragic. I love
No,
that word.
it's
So before I let you go, because we've been chatting for a while and I know you've got things to do, you're probably going to go to the gym, which I'm not because you're wearing gym pants and I'm jealous.
If I didn't wear them in, I wouldn't go. So I was like,
I know. I just don't bring my stuff with me, so I just
you're
never
like,
go.
oops.
Yeah. So tell me what's next then for you. So do you have any like big plans coming up? I mean, obviously, like Dancing with the Stars was really recently as well. So like, what's the future for Love Lift as well as for yourself?
Yeah, well, Love Lift is growing. We're in the airport now, which is something that was a big goal for me last year. So yeah, we're in the airport. We're in different stockists around, and the handbag collection we brought out sold out before Christmas. So that's something that I want to bring out again, like more handbags, all of that. We're back looking at, you know, Christmas of this year and stuff like that already and stuff like that. And then the final of Dancing with the Stars is at the end of the month, so I'll be back dancing with Curtis and that.
Oh, lovely.
And yeah, I just want to like keep going and just, I think I was kind of going, oh, what am I doing? But it's nice to have, when you get these breaks from like, you kind of get to reassess. So at the moment, I'm just back in the gym, like losing the weight that I gained after I stopped Dancing with the Stars.
which makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned acting as well recently.
I'd
so
really
like
love
acting
that.
is something that you want to explore.
Yeah, like I think I have a lot of emotions that I could use, like a channel into something more like acting. But yeah, there's a lot of, I did do a course in the Gaiety School before and stuff like that. So I think, you know, just acting would be cool. Like you said, routine, meeting new people, new skills. So that's something I'm looking into, but you never know.
Well, that's exciting. Well, Holly Carpenter, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to Holly. That is all the time that we have for this week. And thank you as well to Eliza and Evie of Nutshed. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your podcast apps as well. And we'll chat to you next week.